Before Mystery Inc., before the talking dog and the haunted amusement parks, there was a different world, a world of fear and wonder, masks and secrets, long before anyone ever said, Scooby-Dooby-Doo. They say every story begins somewhere, but some stories are born from the end. Tonight, we're peeling back the curtain, far past the Saturday morning laughter, to find out where Scooby-Doo really came from. Not the cartoon, not the catchphrases, but the dream, the idea, and maybe the warning. Before the mystery machine, before the van, before the dog, there was an age of optimism. The late 1960s, America's cities hummed with neon and paranoia. The moon was within reach, but so was the end of the world. Television was a mirror, one that reflected both the light and the dark. Children's shows were supposed to be safe, but beneath the sugar-coated animation, shadows lingered. Hanna-Barbera Studios, the kings of color and chaos, were desperate. Their heroes, cavemen, talking bears, Stone Age families, had grown stale. They needed something different, something strange but still safe enough for kids to watch before school. And somewhere in a smoky boardroom, a handful of writers started talking about fear. Real fear. Not monsters, but the fear of not knowing. The kind that creeps in old houses, or in government cover-ups, or when the news stops making sense. One of them said, "What if the monsters aren't real? What if they're us?" That question hung in the air. And in that moment, the world's first supernatural detective cartoon began to take shape. The archetypes. The team that would become Mystery Inc. wasn't born in one piece. They were built, like archetypes carved from America's collective dreamscape. Fred, the all-American leader, confident, naive, a relic of 1950s heroism, the Boy Scout who believes every problem can be solved with a trap and a plan. Daphne, the face of beauty and danger, caught between worlds. She's glamour and grace, but always in peril, maybe because the world keeps putting her there. Velma, logic incarnate, the skeptic, the scientist, the truth seeker. She doesn't believe until the evidence is undeniable. And when she loses her glasses, it's not just comic relief, it's symbolism. Without clarity, even reason becomes blind. Shaggy, the coward, the comic relief, the everyman. But behind the laughs, he's the heart, the one who feels fear most deeply and teaches us what bravery really looks like. And then there's Scooby, the talking dog, the impossible friend, the connection between fear and laughter. In early concept sketches, Scooby wasn't even a Great Dane. Some say he was a ghost dog, a spectral companion haunting the gang, not helping them. Others say he was modeled after Anubis, the jackal-headed guardian of the underworld. Maybe he's both, a guide between what's real and what's not. The first episode, when Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, aired in 1969, no one could have predicted what it would become. But it wasn't born in a vacuum. 1969 was the year of Woodstock, the moon landing, and televised war. America was smiling for the cameras, but the smile was cracked. And then on Saturday morning, a group of teenagers in a van started unmasking monsters. Every week, they wandered into a new ghost town, a new abandoned factory, a new decaying mansion, all places once full of life, now haunted by the echo of it. Each episode was a ritual: the arrival, the investigation, the fear, and then the reveal. Every time the same truth emerged: the monster was fake, the fear was human, and reason won. That rhythm became a lullaby. In a time when the world made less and less sense, Scooby-Doo whispered that logic and courage still mattered, that no matter how dark the night became, it could be explained, understood, and laughed at. But as the decades rolled on, the laughter started to sound different. The mask begins to slip as television evolved, so did the mysteries. The gang faced robots, aliens, and even time travelers. The real world was getting stranger, and the show mirrored it, as though the line between fantasy and reality was beginning to blur. The villains were still humans in masks, but their motives grew darker. Greed, revenge, obsession. Each disguise felt like a warning. That evil doesn't always look monstrous. Sometimes it smiles. By the 1980s, the gang had become symbols. The bright van rolling through a gray world, the laughter echoing through the Cold War. But something had changed. The world was moving too fast, and the gang seemed stuck in time, forever young, forever chasing the next ghost. Cartoons around them grew louder, sharper, and more cynical. Scooby-Doo stayed simple, but in that simplicity, a haunting quality took root. A show about unmasking fakes started to feel like it was wearing a mask itself. Zombie Island and the Breaking of the Rule. When Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island arrived in 1998, Zombie Island and the Breaking of the Rule. When Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island arrived in 1998, everything changed. The monsters were suddenly real. The ghosts didn't unmask. And for the first time, the gang faced something they couldn't explain away. It was beautiful, eerie, tragic. The colors were darker, the music slower, the tone melancholic. It was a story about growing older, about losing the safety of logic. Fred and Daphne had grown apart. Velma ran a bookstore, searching for meaning in myths. Shaggy and Scooby had tried to live normal lives, but normal never fit. When they reunited, they found that the world had changed, and so had they. The ghosts weren't just costumes anymore. They were memories, regrets, lost things that refused to stay buried. It's almost like Zombie Island was a mirror held up to all of us. We'd grown up. We knew the world wasn't always explainable anymore. And yet, we still longed for that moment when the mask came off and the truth made sense. But now the truth was messy, and sometimes the monster was real. The lingering questions over the years, Scooby-Doo became more than a cartoon. It became a ritual. Generations of kids grew up learning that fear can be unmasked, that logic and friendship can overcome deceit. But beneath that optimism lies a quieter question. Why were the monsters always human? Was it meant to comfort us or warn us? Maybe it was saying that evil isn't born from the supernatural. It's born from the choices people make when no one's watching. And maybe that's scarier than any ghost. Look closely, and you'll notice the towns the gang visits are always empty, half forgotten. Factories shut down, amusement parks abandoned, ships rusting on the shore, all relics of a world that used to be thriving, now haunted by the people left behind. It's not just a mystery show, it's an elegy for lost places, a record of the ruins we built for ourselves. Scooby is the dream. So what is Scooby-Doo? A dog who talks? A symbol of friendship? Or something else? Something older? In one production note from 1970, an animator described Scooby as the link between fear and friendship. He's not brave, he's terrified, but he goes anyway. And that's the lesson hidden in every chase scene, every laugh, every sandwich. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the act of walking through it together. Maybe Scooby isn't just a dog. Maybe he's the dream we all share. That even when the world is falling apart, laughter can keep us human. He's the spirit of companionship, of childlike wonder, of running toward the dark with friends by your side. Maybe that's why he never changes, because the dream never does. The endless loop, they say, if you watch the old episodes late at night, you can hear things the laughter track was meant to cover. Whispers, breaths, a hum beneath the music, like someone else was there. Some fans think it's just tape distortion. Others say it's something older. A voice from before the world went color. Maybe Mystery Inc. isn't solving mysteries at all. Maybe they're trapped inside one, forever driving down an endless road, through an endless twilight, forever unmasking, forever searching. Maybe each ghost is another reflection of themselves, pieces of innocence they lost, chasing the truth they can never find. Every reveal is a small death. Every, and I would have gotten away with it too, is the world confessing its guilt. The age of reboots. Reboots came and went, some darker, some lighter. Each one another mirror, reflecting what people were afraid of in that decade. In Mystery Incorporated, the myth deepened. The gang found that they weren't the first Mystery Inc. There had been others before them. Other teams, other dogs, other mysteries, all repeating the same cycle. The show hinted that Scooby himself might be ancient, a creature destined to guide new generations toward truth, and to watch them fall into the same traps again and again. It's unsettling, isn't it? The idea that even in fiction, the search for truth is endless, that the unmasking never ends. But maybe that's what keeps the show alive, because deep down, we don't want all the answers. We want the chase, the last mystery. So what if the real mystery was never the monster, but the way we keep coming back to it? Scooby-Doo is older than most of us now. Over 50 years of laughter, fear, and mystery. 5 decades of unmasking the same face, our own. And yet it still feels timeless. Maybe because it's not really about ghosts or traps or sandwiches. It's about the fragile hope that somewhere out there, even in the darkest corners of the world, friendship can still solve the mystery. Maybe that's what keeps the van rolling. Maybe that's what keeps us watching. Good night, sleepyheads.